Hello everybody, I'm Rene Ramos, Director of the Lynn and Louis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives, and this is Rewind, the show that looks back on Florida's past with historic film and video. It's time for another trip back into the past, so sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Rewind.
This little girl will die unless another child's death gives her a new liver and a second chance. These girls are singing their way out of an Israeli slum. This family is trying to escape East Germany in a balloon, and these people are putting on a circus. This is Montage. Hello, I'm Joe Abril. You may remember that a couple of months ago, a 2.5-year-old girl made national headlines when her need for a liver donor was reported. A few weeks later, we had the chance to see the story of the successful liver transplant operation that saved her life. Diana Gonzalez-DeRuthi reports that here in Miami, another little girl with a fatal liver disease is in need now of our help.
The birth of a new baby does not always signal the beginning of a healthy and long life. Sometimes infants and children are forced to fight for their own survival right from the very start. Joyce Ferrante faces this grim reality on a daily basis as a nurse in the newborn intensive care unit at Variety Children's Hospital and at home. Joyce's 22-month-old daughter, Anne-Marie, has biliary atresia, a liver disease that kills approximately 400 children each year.
7, here's 8, 9, and 10.
We were first told that they didn't expect her to survive very long because she was very damaged, but that they really didn't know that it could be 3 months, 6 months, 12. Average life expectancy for biliary atresia kids was 2 years without correction.
Anne-Marie's tiny liver is so damaged by this disease that digestive juices produced in the liver are not flowing out into her intestines as they normally would. Instead, these toxic fluids are building up in her liver and destroying it. Anne-Marie's prognosis is bleak.
Over time, the liver function will deteriorate because the liver will have progressive scarring. In other words, with the bile drainage essentially backing up all the time, there's ongoing inflammation in the liver, and eventually the liver will scar. And this is a type of cirrhosis that will develop, and again, over time, the liver will stop functioning normally and eventually not function well at all.
How long would it be before she went through total liver failure?
Well, again, this will vary a little bit from patient to patient, but probably on the order of 2 to 3 years, perhaps a little longer.
There is a corrective surgery procedure that is often life-saving for the victims of biliary atresia, but it did not work for Anne, and all hope had been lost until last year when Joyce found out that liver transplants are successfully being done by a doctor at the University of Pittsburgh. A recent issue of Newsweek magazine carries an article about the now famous surgeon Dr. Thomas Starzl, one of the few men in the world capable of successfully performing liver transplants. This operation is the only thing that can save Anne-Marie's life, but she must wait her turn along with many other children for the right liver donor.
When we were up in Pittsburgh and they did accept her for transplant, we asked about donors, and we were told that she was one of the smallest and youngest on the list, and also that those are the size livers that are very difficult to get because people just are not aware, for one thing, that kids that small can donate organs.
Media coverage brought the needs of another little girl to the attention of a dying boy's parents. 2.5-year-old Lauren Tooley's liver was consumed by cancer. Last month, it was replaced with the liver of 4-year-old Robert Newberry, who died of meningitis. Anne-Marie still has some time left before her disease becomes critical. The visible effects are hardly noticeable. Her skin and the whites of her eyes are yellowed, and her stomach is inflated. But Anne-Marie maintains a playful and loving disposition while the disease is slowly eating away at her liver.
If she had been healthy, we would have probably tend to take her for granted and not cherish every moment like we do now. I mean, we never thought we were going to see her first birthday, and we never thought we were going to see her first tooth. Even getting her in her first crib was a big event for us because we never thought that she was going to make it that far.
Now Anne-Marie's family is praying that someone will give her a chance for a long and normal life.
I would just like them to think about her now and then, and the fact that she needs it, and that there are many other children also waiting, and just hope that people will see her story and maybe think about it.
Hey, hey, Mommy won't let you get hurt.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
We all talk and think about the world getting smaller, and we usually think of the United Nations or problems, but tonight we're going to tell you about the world getting smaller in a nice, pleasant way. With me is Bob Patel, who is the president of the Jewish Federation of South Broward, and you have a sister city in Israel, right?
Yes, we do.
Which is where?
The community is called Hoda Sharon, and it's quite near Tel Aviv.
Now, what does that mean, sister city? How do you relate to each other?
Well, we're specifically related in terms of Project Renewal. Project Renewal is a program which was introduced by the Israeli government in cooperation with the United Jewish Appeal, and it basically is to link American Jewish communities with a counterpart community in Israel.
And how does that surface here in the United States? In what way?
Well, it surfaces in the United States in that the campaign for Project Renewal is endorsed and actively participated in by each Jewish federated community throughout the country.
And how about in Israel? What's the result?
In Israel, the result we'd like to see is 160 communities all get upgraded and uplifted, where people have substandard housing, substandard social structure, where people whose lives are lacking enrichment and fulfillment can be brought up to a level with the rest of the country.
It might seem like a task that's endless and impossible. It must seem that way sometimes, isn't it, to upgrade a whole nation?
Well, it's challenging, and the history of it is interesting. When Israel became a state in 1948, at that time it was predominantly Jews who were of European descent. Well, in a 3-year period, 700,000 immigrants from Muslim countries flooded into Israel. And these were Jewish people who culturally were entirely different from the Jews of the European extraction, or the Ashkenazi Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Their culture was different. They lacked basic education. They lacked training and skills. And consequently, they settled into, unfortunately, a second-class citizenry level. In addition, they went into temporary substandard housing, and somehow they never emerged from that. And therefore, today, the children of many of these same people are still living in the substandard housing in what would best be described as slum and impoverished conditions.
Are you saying that there's anti-Semitism of a very sophisticated nature within Israel itself, among Jews?
Well, anti-Semitism probably isn't a good term to use, but
discrimination?
There is certainly at least what's perceived as discrimination by those who are less advantaged. There is definitely an economic gap and a large social gap, and it's trying to narrow the gap that Project Renewal was initiated by Menachem Begin's government in 1978.
Now, why are you involved? You're a successful pediatrician in Broward County, Bob. Why are you devoting all this time to something like this, which is happening so far away from your home?
Well, it's part of one's commitment to being Jewish. And there's a slogan we have. It says, "We are one." And it's more than a slogan. It's true. We are one, and we do have an identification with Jews throughout the world, not only in Israel, but wherever they may be, and especially those who are in distress.
Right. Well, we have some girls that are going to sing for us, and I want you to tell us about these girls just briefly as a group, and then we'll hear them sing.
Well, as a group, these girls are from Hoda Sharon. This is the community that the South Broward Federation is twinned with. And when we were in Israel last October, many of us visited this particular community. And these girls performed for us. Their leader is a guitarist named Freddie. Freddie actually is paid by Project Renewal, and by introducing music and cultural programs into the community, it's just a way of enriching the life. In any event, Freddie zeroed in on these girls because of their talent, and with hard work developed them into the fine singing group that they now present.
So they're now touring South Florida and will return to Israel, but after having seen America, perhaps they will never be the same again?
Well, that part's true, and actually what they're doing is they're helping us very much in our fundraising campaign for the Federation campaign and also for Project Renewal fundraising. In addition, their coming here has had a tremendous impact on their own community because the self-esteem of that community has been built up by the fact that their girls were selected to come to the United States and come here on a mission.
Great. They're all 14 or 15 years old?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I think without further ado, we should see and hear what we're talking about, the young ladies we're speaking of. And Bob, we thank you, and now we'll enjoy listening to the girls from Israel. Nice sound, isn't it? Next, a short film clip from a true-life movie about escaping East Germany in a homemade balloon. The movie Night Crossing tells that rather incredible story. And then a short visit with Jane Alexander, who you may remember best as portraying Eleanor Roosevelt, and John Hurt, the Elephant Man. They're together in this movie that reminds us of the desperation many people still feel to escape the Iron Curtain into the West.
Oh, Doris, what are you doing? We're through with this place. We're finished.
When the police find out we're gone, they'll be in here, and I won't have them saying I'm a bad housekeeper.
Are you hooked up? Right, Frank, take this. Replace the burner.
Come on, wake up. Quickly. What is it? Come, we're going for a ride.
Going to ride in that?
Hurry!
Did you ever have people tell you you should never be an actress because you don't look like the starlet type?
I didn't have them tell me that because I was only too aware of it myself. But I did have my first agency, which shall remain nameless.
Oh, tell us.
No, they called me in one time and they told me, they said, Jane, you could be like every other starlet in Hollywood, but we think you should change your nose and put some streaks in your hair. And I wasn't prepared for this at all. And I don't know where it came from, but this outrage welled up in me. And I said, this nose, my father's nose, my father's father's nose, my father's... I went on and on. I said, my gosh, this could be a Roman nose. You don't know. And then I walked out of the office with tears rolling down my cheeks. And
well, but I can understand them saying that because we have come
thanks
to
expect...
a lot. No. We have
this
come
nose.
to expect, no, I love your nose, you know, but I think we have an image of Hollywood agents and people who make movies as looking for beautiful people. Now, you're a very attractive woman, but you're not what I would call beautiful. Like I'm not handsome, but I'm passable.
What do you mean? I think I'm gorgeous.
Well, yeah, you're obviously at peace with yourself, which is what really counts. You know what I'm talking about, I think. Maybe you don't. About
no,
looks.
I know what you're talking about. I don't think I'm your ordinary, glamour girl, pretty kind of image, no. But I don't, you know, that's not my feeling about what beauty or handsome is anymore, so it doesn't bother me. I think that it's all very, very much something that is in a personality. And perhaps the best example of this was somebody that I played, Eleanor Roosevelt. And I met an awful lot of people who had known Eleanor. Half the world, I think, knew Eleanor Roosevelt. And many, many of them said to me, what I wasn't prepared for was how beautiful she was.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I think of when I just think of Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah, but
I know
it came from her, it came from something within.
Let's talk about Elephant Man for a moment, if we may, which is something you've done in the past, but I know you're gracious enough to talk about your past successes. Do you ever feel, gee, I wish they had just seen my face a couple of times, the real John Hurt, instead of the makeup and the...
When I was shooting it, yes. When we were shooting, there were times when it was, I mean, nobody told me it was going to be an easy movie, but there were times when I just would have liked to have known that, or been sure that what I was doing, what I thought I was doing, was coming across.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that, so that was the, you know, that's part of the game. And I relied on David Lynch, who was, I mean, a marvelous director, I think. And
when you do a movie and you get reactions, do you find yourself being surprised at the reactions that you elicit? In other words, you thought it would be this and it's this, something different?
Oh, certainly, yes. I'm trying to think of something specific no, I can't think of anything just right now.
Well, I think we think of acting as more precise than perhaps it is. In other words, you set out to evoke an emotion, and quite often, like an artist, you paint something with something in mind, and it turns out totally different in that people's perception is nothing like you thought about at all.
Oh, this often happens, but this happens all the time. I mean, you never know where an audience is going. I mean, you can know the craft of it to a certain extent, but you can never be absolutely sure where they're going to laugh, where they're going to cry, where they're going to be moved, where they're going to be actually interested. Yeah. You know, I mean, the Elephant Man was very interesting in that respect. Was the number of minority groups that came out in complete identification with him.
Really? I'm a human being.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but that's all I was concerned was playing the man.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's always interesting when that reaction happens. Yeah.
And in Night Crossing, a man who risked everything for his family, but also risked his family in the process. An interesting dual-edged sword.
Indeed, yes.
Taking others' lives in their hands.
Well, you can say to yourself, is this an extreme act of selfishness, or is this an extreme act of
close call?
Yeah, exactly.
Could be called either way.
Could be called either way.
Indeed. John Hurd, now don't take yourself too seriously, remember. And I won't either. That's a promise.
Right, please don't.
None of us should, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely right.
Everybody takes themselves too seriously. That goes for you, too. We'll be right back.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Would you believe there are people around who have never been to a circus? Well, we know of one such person right here on our Montage staff. So we told Ed Odell, here's your big chance. The circus is in town.
For days now, people have been telling me that the circus is in town. Well, standing here in front of the animal tents, I can tell you there's a scent of a circus in town. But where is the circus? I'm looking for the Big Top. It's a battle between historic images and contemporary realities. Every book I've read or movie I've seen with a theme set against the backdrop of a circus describes the three rings and the Big Top. Well, the three rings are almost in place. There's the high wire gear, some still on the ground, others going up. And there's the cage for the Wild Animal Act. But what happened to the Big Top?
I think if we would put up a Big Top today and Ringling would look back into under the Big Top, I don't think it would work. The audience they love the upholstered seats, and they like the air-conditioned buildings and the convenience instead of sitting in the mud on the straw bale or hay bale. And also, I believe that we can put on a lot better show in arenas than we could on the Big Top.
So now the circus plays big arenas like the Miami Beach Convention Center. As a matter of fact, Charlie Bauman, a German national, is one of the few people left around this crew of workmen who has worked under a Big Top. The last American performance under the canvas was in 1958. I asked Charlie, who has been with Ringling since 1963, if some of the circus magic had left along with the disappearance of the Big Top.
It's a little bit of it lost, but you know, I always heard people saying, yeah, well, but the smell is not there anymore. I guarantee you the elephants, they still smell, and the tigers still smell, just like they did 100 years ago. So that is still there.
This is the 112th edition of the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. There are two units of the circus, the red, which visited Miami Beach last year, with Gunter Gable Williams, the famed animal trainer, and the blue, which is here this year. The two units are rotated among towns on the circuit each year, and performances are changed every 2 years so that no city ever sees the same show. And when the three rings are in place, and the riggings are hung, and all the performers are tidied up, ladies and gentlemen, the magic begins. The greatest show on earth! Remember Charlie Bauman? Well, he started as a workman with a circus in Germany in the late 1940s, and while there, he saved the life of a man who was attacked by 3 lions. Guess what Charlie does now? Is it still the dream of a kid to run away and join the circus and start as a workman and all that?
Oh yeah, I think kids still dream about that. Matter of fact, just in West Palm Beach, police pulled up during the show, and they were looking for 2 young boys. They ran away from home and just were all over the circus and in the tents and around, and they wanted to be clowns.
The circus has a tremendous fascination for people of all ages, but it's great to see look up in the crowd and see the faces of the kids, even on an animal walk or something, when they see those elephants or the camels, or they see the trapeze doing a triple or a 3.5. It's a great feeling because you can judge the excitement in their faces. You can see it in their eyes.
Well, whether under the Big Top or the Superdome, The circus has and will be for a long time to come one of the most exciting events for kids of all ages. Next week on Montage, stories about the bounties from the sea and the sky. Both may be running out. We'll look at the battle over kingfish down in Key West. Environmentalists say fishermen are using up a valuable resource. And we'll look at South Florida's water shortage, a problem now that may be a crisis very soon. Also next week, I'll talk with State Senator Robert McKnight about what Dade Countyans can expect from their delegation in this year's legislature. That's our montage for this week. I'm Joe Averill.
That's about it for this edition of Rewind. Just time to remind you that Rewind features historical film and video from the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. To see more from the Wolfson Archives collections, visit our website, wolfsonarchives.org. You can search the archives catalog and watch video online. And be sure to connect to our YouTube channel, where you will find hundreds of carefully curated clips, or link to the Wolfson Archives Facebook page to keep up with our busy calendar of historical happenings. Until next time, I'm Rene Ramos. Thanks for watching.